Just a few weeks ago on a Saturday morning, I stepped over a cement block bumper at the top of a parking stall, and my foot slipped on the ice, and then my other foot gave way as well. And faster than I could think, my head hit that cement bumper on the ground in the ice. Within a couple of minutes, I reached up to touch the goose egg that was now forming at the top back part of my head, and there was blood all over my fingers. That was not a good moment for me. As my husband and I drove to the hospital, I told God that I didn't have time for this problem with all that I had on my plate. Why was this happening? At the emergency room, I immediately saw a friend of mine there with terrible back pain. I held a big ice pack on my head and I prayed for her, and I thought, well, I guess this is why I'm here, to be with my friend. And then I met a mom with 4 kids who had been in a car accident and she couldn't move her neck, so I asked her if she wanted prayer, and she gratefully accepted. And again I thought, well, this must also be why I'm here today. My head continued to bleed and hurt as a man in a wheelchair being pushed by the paramedics came in. Gordon told us that he had fallen on the ice and broken his foot. After the doctor had fixed up my head, my husband offered to take Gordon to his home. We found out that Gordon had arrangements at a shelter. On the way, we bought him a meal, and my head stopped hurting completely as I began to talk to him about Jesus. He said he thought that Christians were brainwashed, but you know, he said, they're the only people that I've ever seen truly happy. I smiled. He told us that alcohol had destroyed his life. He had nothing to show for his 57 years on this earth. His relationships, jobs, and peace had all been ruined by his addiction. My husband asked him, "When do you think you've had enough, Gordon?" And Gordon said quietly, "I've had enough. I'm at the end of my rope. I have nothing left." And I asked him if he wanted to pray, and he said he didn't know how to pray. So I said, "Would you repeat after me?" And in the most holy and profound moment, while still in the car, Gordon asked Jesus to be the Lord of his heart. He could barely speak the words for the emotion inside of him. We dropped him off at the shelter. We all had tears, but I told him I'd be back for him the next day. The following morning, I picked him up and I fed him for the day, and he stayed on our couch that night. And he said he was willing to go to a godly recovery home to begin his new journey. The next morning, we brought him to Luke 15 House, paid for his first 12 days to give him some stability. Today, Gordon is doing great. He told me, "I think God broke my foot so I'd meet you." And I told him, "Gordon, I think God broke my head so I would meet you." Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." God allowed me to be at the exact right place where the hurt would bring healing in someone's life. My head never hurt again, and Gordon's foot is healing up just fine. But being in that emergency room at the very same hour was an act of God's intervention. We can trust Him with our steps. God is always in full control.